Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. Today, we're going to be talking about spellcasting, and specifically, we're going to be talking about Paladin spellcasting. Paladins are half-casters, meaning that they don't actually get cantrips, and they only get to cast up to 5th level spells. But the spells that they do get are still worth talking about. I mean, a lot of folks are just going to be using their spell slots on smites, which is fine. That's one way to play a paladin. But they get actually good magical spells, too. They get their second level spells at level 5. So this is right when they get extra attack. This is when combat really starts to take a higher turn, and other spellcasters are getting their third level spells. The paladins get their second level spells at this point, and I've broken down a list of top 5 picks that you should consider when looking at your paladin. Starting off at number 5, we have Zone of Truth. You create a little area for 10 minutes, and any creature that starts their turn there has to make a charisma save, and if they fail it, they cannot tell a lie. They are not compelled to speak, so they don't have to tell the truth, but they cannot willingly lie. And you know every creature in there, whether they succeed or fail, so it's a great interrogation technique, great way to demand that folks tell you the truth. Zone of Truth is just a powerful spell for social situations and interrogation. Now, next up at number 4, we have the spell Aid. Now, Aid is an interesting one. A lot of spells that give temporary hit points in this game can be found, but you don't get to stack them up on each other. When you cast a spell with temporary hit points, another spell can be cast or effect, and it takes the other ones away and replaces them. But Aid is different. Aid doesn't give you temporary hit points, it raises your hit point maximum by 5 at the first casting of Aid for a few of your party members. And if you upcast it, it can do it 5 more, so 10, 15, etc. And it doesn't take concentration, lasts for 8 hours, and it just raises your maximum, meaning that any temp hit points go on top of that. So Aid is a good buffing spell for the party. Paladins aren't the biggest healers in the game, but if you don't have a cleric in the party or someone else who can cast Aid, why not grab it? It really is a good buff. Now at number 3, we have Warding Bond. This is a cool one. You cast a spell with a pair of rings and give them to 2 creatures. You'd think this would be kind of like Ceremony, which is a wedding thing, but that's not the case. In fact, whenever these 2 creatures wearing the rings are within 60 feet of each other, they get a +1 bonus to their AC and their saving throws, which is huge. And they have resistance to all damage. All damage, as long as they're close to the person they're bonded with. However, the person you're bonded with, if they take damage, even if they have resistance to it, you take the same damage. So it doesn't really get rid of the damage, it just splits it. So if you've got a barbarian and a fighter, or a barbarian and a paladin or something, you could give them these rings, and they're kind of sharing the load. They also can speak telepathically to each other while they're wearing the rings, which is kind of cool. So yeah, there's some cool powers here in Warding Bond. It's one that is not often talked about, and I'm like, nah, +1 to AC and saving throws and resistance to damage. I'll take that. I'll take that any day. Now, number 2 is a healing spell that is a little more appropriate for a paladin, Lesser Restoration. You can use this to cure diseases or conditions, such as blinded or deafened or paralyzed. This is a really handy spell, especially to cast on yourself. If you're the paladin, you get paralyzed, you're in a bad spot. You're supposed to be protecting the party. But, well, actually, I guess you can't cast it on yourself because you can't take actions. But if the other party members get paralyzed, you can cast them on them. And yeah, Lesser Restoration's a really handy spell to have around. And it doesn't come up super often. It's to heal conditions and diseases. So it's not something you're going to use all the time, but when you need it, it's going to be important. Now, the last spell on this list is a paladin spell only, and I stuck it here as number 1 because this is an iconic spell. Find Steed. A paladin can spend 10 minutes casting this spell, and then a steed appears. A horse, an elk, a camel, something that's iconic to your paladin. It automatically can understand a language of your choice. You can communicate with it telepathically. When you're riding it, if you cast any spell that targets you, like, I don't know, Aid, for example, or Lesser Restoration if you need to, it also targets the horse, or whatever, your steed. And the steed doesn't go away. It sticks around. There's no end to this one. It's like Find Familiar. It sticks around until it dies. If it does die, it poofs away, leaving no trace of its body. And you can also dismiss it as an action, and then you could cast the spell again for another 10 minutes, and then you get the steed automatically, the same one, except you get it at full hit points now. So if you can just spend 10 minutes and a level 2 spell slot, you can heal your steed up. They are really, really handy because you could just kind of summon horses up out of nowhere. And yeah, it's really nice to have a mount, especially as a paladin riding into battle. That's a cool imagery. And I think Find Steed is something every paladin should take. Why not have a horse? There's no downside to it. And you don't necessarily have to take it with you everywhere you go. You can communicate with it telepathically within a mile. So you can leave it behind, and if you get in trouble, you can have it come to you. Just give it directions. It's a cool role-playing thing. It's handy in combat. It's handy for traversing areas. It's just good overall. Take Find Steed if you're a paladin. There's no downside to it. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below, and keep your eyes peeled for more spellcasting reviews coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friends.